own reputation and future by cutting ties with her daughter in front of the entire world. As the tension in the courtroom mounted, Jackie Christie's unexpected apology wasn't just a moment of contrition. It was a calculated strategy to deflect attention away from her own misdeeds. With a single jaw-dropping revelation, she turned the spotlight onto her daughter Chantel, claiming that it was Chantel who had been orchestrating the scandals all along. This bombshell revelation left the courtroom stunned. Was this just a desperate attempt by Jackie to distance herself from her daughter's actions, or was there something much darker lurking beneath the surface? The way Jackie dropped this truth so casually made it clear that she was prepared to do anything to protect her own interests, even if it meant throwing her flesh and blood under the bus. What was so damning about Chantel's involvement? The details remained murky, but the whispers in the courtroom suggested that Chantel had been entangled in a web of shady dealings and questionable decisions that could bring down not just her, but her mother as well. Jackie, ever the master of spinning her own narrative, used her apology as a shield to deflect the heat from her own growing list of scandals. But it wasn't just about Jackie trying to save face. This was a family drama that had been building for years, filled with power struggles, secrecy, and hidden agendas. Jackie Christie had built her career and her fame on chaos and controversy, but now the very thing that had made her famous, the drama, was threatening to destroy everything she had worked for. And instead of letting the chips fall where they may, Jackie made the ultimate betrayal, sacrificing her daughter to protect herself. This moment in court wasn't just the culmination of one messy family feud. It marked the beginning of something much bigger, a public unraveling that would play out for everyone to see. The question now was, would Chantel fight back and expose even darker truths? Or was this the beginning of Jackie Christie's final act in the public eye? The stakes couldn't be higher, and as the courtroom drama unfolded, it became clear that the Christies were about to be at the center of an even bigger scandal that no one could have predicted. The world was watching, and what Jackie Christie revealed in that moment might just be the spark that ignites the next chapter in this explosive family saga. The power dynamics, the betrayals, and the dark secrets that have been simmering for years are now being dragged into the light. This wasn't just a legal case. This was a story of survival, of alliances being shattered, and of a mother's desperate attempt to save herself at any cost, even if it meant tearing apart the family she helped build, had already set off a chain reaction that was impossible to reverse. The courtroom, once a place of legal proceedings, had transformed into a live spectacle where every word, every look, and every reaction from Jackie Christie was under the harshest scrutiny. The media coverage, the endless tweets, the viral clips, all of it contributed to the growing storm around Jackie. What had been a public figure's usual day in court had now become a full-blown media frenzy, with fans, critics, and everyone in between weighing in on her every move. The whispers about Chantel's alleged shady dealings only fueled the fire. The rumors surrounding her involvement in secret business ventures, using Jackie's name to elevate herself, and even more sinister accusations like money laundering, had already painted a picture of betrayal. But what was truly shocking was how Jackie had seemingly sided with the rumors, confirming in front of the world that her own daughter might have been the one pulling the strings all along. This wasn't just a family dispute. It was the collapse of a carefully curated image, an empire built on control, manipulation, and controversy. For Jackie, this moment was supposed to be a strategic move to save herself, but what she hadn't anticipated was the deep backlash from her most loyal followers. For years, her fans had supported her through the reality TV feuds, the controversial moments, and the media circus that followed her every step. But now, many of them were starting to question everything they thought they knew about the woman they had admired. Was Jackie Christie truly the victim? Or had she been the mastermind behind her own web of lies, just as much as Chantel allegedly had been? The court hearing, which was broadcast live, provided an unfiltered window into the depths of the Christie family drama. The intense public scrutiny wasn't just about Jackie's actions. It was about the trust her fans had placed in her. As Jackie's defense team tried to downplay the magnitude of the situation, it was clear that the damage had already been done. The apology, the betrayal, and the unfolding scandal couldn't be undone with a few legal arguments. Jackie had exposed herself in a way that was impossible to hide from. Social media exploded with reactions. Some fans still stood by Jackie, defending her as a mother, simply doing what she thought was necessary to protect herself. After all, they reasoned, every mother would act in a similar way if her reputation were on the line. But others saw through the act. They viewed her apology as little more than a calculated move, one made to save face after a colossal failure. Jackie was no longer the queen of reality TV. She was a woman backed into a corner, trying desperately to maintain control. So, the hearing dragged on. The room felt suffocating. Jackie could feel the walls closing in. The once unshakable image she had so carefully cultivated was cracking, and it was becoming painfully clear that this wasn't just about one daughter's alleged misdeeds. This was about a mother's attempt to salvage whatever she could from the ruins of her life and career. But with every word she spoke, Jackie seemed to alienate herself even further from the people who had once been her biggest supporters. The fallout from that courtroom moment would reverberate for months to come. Jackie Christie's reputation, which had already taken hit after hit over the years, might now be irreparably damaged. What had once been a carefully orchestrated narrative of fame and scandal was now a chaotic mess, with the public left wondering, had Jackie Christie really been playing everyone all along? The Christie family saga was far from over, but this court appearance had certainly changed the course of everything. Whether Jackie could recover from this, or whether this was the final chapter in her reality TV reign, remained to be seen. But one thing was clear: the world was watching, and Jackie was no longer in control. As the investigation into Chantel's activities grew, the scope of the scandal began to widen even further. It wasn't just about one woman's questionable choices. It became clear that the Christie family had been entangled in something much more sinister than anyone could have anticipated. Benzino's name only scratched the surface, revealing deeper connections that spanned far beyond the flashy world of reality TV. Anonymous sources began to spill more details, painting a picture of a family involved in a far-reaching network of dirty money, high-stakes business deals, and alleged laundering activities. What was once just a family squabble in the public eye now seemed like a carefully orchestrated scheme to maintain power and profit, with Jackie Christie at the center of it all. But here's the most shocking twist. What if Jackie had known everything? What if she wasn't just a mother trying to protect her daughter, but an active participant in this web of lies and deceit? The whispers that had once been rumors were now becoming harder to ignore. With the public's interest piqued, more former associates came forward, detailing the lengths to which both Jackie and Chantel had gone to protect their empire. There were allegations of covert meetings with shady business figures, mysterious transactions, and even suggestions that some of the most influential names in the entertainment industry were involved in this tangled mess. The Christie family was no longer just famous for their TV antics. They were now at the center of one of the most talked-about scandals in recent history. The media had a field day. Every move Jackie made was scrutinized, every word she spoke dissected. Social media buzzed with theories, accusations, and speculation. Fans who once saw Jackie as a fierce, unstoppable reality star began to question everything they thought they knew about her. The apology in court, once seen as an attempt at redemption, now felt like an act of desperation, perhaps an effort to distance herself from something far darker than she could have imagined. But as much as the media reveled in the drama, the true story of what happened behind the scenes was still far from clear. The more the public learned, the murkier things became. Was Jackie truly a victim in all of this? Or was she just as guilty as her daughter? Could it be that the whole Christie family was part of an intricate scheme designed to deceive everyone, from their fans to the public at large? In the weeks that followed, the scandal only grew. New evidence continued to surface, including reports of additional business dealings, more shady characters emerging from the shadows, and even whispers of government investigations into the Christie family's financial activities. Chantel, once just Jackie's daughter and a reality TV personality in her own right, had become the face of a much larger issue, one that threatened to unravel everything the Christie name had come to represent. As the legal drama continued to unfold, one thing became undeniable. The Christie family was no longer just part of the reality TV landscape. They were embroiled in a high-profile criminal investigation. And as each layer of the scandal peeled back, more questions arose about just how deep the rabbit hole truly went. Were Jackie and Chantel simply pawns in a much bigger game, or were they the masterminds behind it all? The public's fascination with the case only intensified as the drama grew more complex. Fans and critics alike began to debate whether Jackie had played the role of a protective mother or a willing accomplice in her daughter's alleged crimes. The lines between reality and fiction blurred, and the world watched with bated breath to see how this family drama would ultimately play out. As Jackie and Chantel's fates hung in the balance, the question remained: would they be able to weather the storm, or was this the beginning of the end for their empire? What was clear, however, was that the world hadn't seen the last of the Christie family saga. The next twist was just around the corner, and no one knew where it would lead. Continued to point fingers at Jackie, Chantel's involvement in the entire mess became even more complicated. As the investigation unfolded, it was revealed that Chantel may not have been the innocent pawn in this drama that many had initially believed her to be. The leaked emails and tapes suggested that while Jackie had played a significant role in advising and possibly orchestrating the cover-up, Chantel wasn't simply following her mother's lead, she was an active participant. Sources claimed that Chantel had her own set of dealings that went beyond what anyone had imagined. There were rumors that she had been involved in making the initial connections with certain high-profile figures, using her mother's fame to leverage business opportunities. Some even suggested that Chantel was the one who brought certain partners into the fold, individuals with questionable motives who were only too happy to exploit the Christie family's connections for their own gain. But the real turning point came when Chantel herself was implicated in the leaked tapes. In one conversation, she allegedly discussed her awareness of her mother's involvement in laundering operations. In another, she seemed to discuss strategies for silencing potential whistleblowers. Was Chantel merely trying to protect her mother, or was she just as guilty of orchestrating the scandal? The lines between the two became dangerously blurred, and the public found itself grappling with the question of who was truly in control. And while Jackie Christie's apology had momentarily calmed the media storm, it became increasingly apparent that she wasn't being fully transparent about her role in the scandal. The public perception of Jackie began to shift. No longer just the reality TV star with a penchant for drama, she was now seen as the possible architect behind an extensive criminal network that spanned entertainment, business, and politics. Every new revelation about her involvement only deepened the mystery. Was Jackie Christie the mastermind behind everything, or had she just been another player in a larger game of corruption? Despite all the chaos surrounding them, Jackie and Chantel weren't about to give up without a fight. As the pressure grew, their methods became more desperate. According to insiders, they started to manipulate public perception, feeding stories to the media that painted them as victims of a conspiracy. Some reports even suggested that they were trying to position themselves as whistleblowers, people who had been misled or caught in a system they never fully understood. It was a strategic move, but it seemed to only muddy the waters further. However, the real danger for both Jackie and Chantel was that the truth was now too big to ignore. With the investigation gaining momentum, the tapes, emails, and leaked information about their dealings were enough to send shockwaves through the media, law enforcement, and the public. In the end, it seemed there was no escaping the inevitable: fallout. Would the Christie family be able to salvage their names and careers, or had their web of lies and corruption finally caught up with them? Only time would tell, but with each passing day, it became clearer that this scandal was far from over, and the Christies were about to face a reckoning they never saw coming: ultimate downfall of the Christie family. What had started as a typical celebrity scandal was now spiraling into a criminal case that threatened to dismantle not only Jackie and Chantel's empire, but the entire network of individuals who had enabled their operations. As each new piece of evidence came to light, it became increasingly clear that the Christies were not just celebrities living off their fame. They were players in a much larger game of financial corruption, organized crime, and political manipulation. The leaked financial documents were a game changer. They showed a staggering amount of illicit activity, millions of dollars flowing through offshore accounts, shell companies set up specifically to launder money, and fraudulent tax evasion schemes. That spanned years. These weren't just minor missteps. These were systematic efforts to conceal the truth and maintain their wealth and power at any cost. Jackie and Chantel had built an empire based on deception, and the walls were finally closing in. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that the authorities weren't just interested in Jackie and Chantel anymore. They were looking at everyone who had been involved in their operations. The Christie family had embedded themselves in a larger web of corruption that spanned across business, politics, and finance. High-profile individuals who had helped them cover up their illegal activities were now on the radar, and the possibility of further arrests was becoming increasingly likely. For Jackie, the pressure was overwhelming. The public perception of her had shifted drastically. No longer seen as just the reality TV star known for her dramatic antics, Jackie was now viewed as the mastermind behind an elaborate criminal network. Her desperate attempts to distance herself from Chantel's activities and her role in the scandal had only made things worse. Her carefully crafted public image was crumbling, and the fallout seemed inevitable. But Jackie wasn't ready to give up yet. Sources close to her revealed that she was desperately negotiating a plea deal with federal authorities, hoping to avoid a lengthy prison sentence. Jackie was reportedly willing to cooperate fully with the investigation, even if it meant implicating her own daughter, Chantel. She was reportedly ready to expose the identities of the powerful individuals who had been involved in the operation, hoping that by doing so, she could mitigate her own punishment. The idea of Jackie turning on Chantel sent shockwaves through the media. Would a mother truly betray her daughter in such a way to save herself? Or was Jackie simply trying to salvage what was left of her legacy and her freedom? It seemed that no one could predict the final outcome. Some believed that Jackie's decision to cooperate was a calculated move to ensure she wouldn't go down alone. Others wondered if it was a desperate, last-ditch effort to make amends before everything fell apart completely. As the investigation reached its boiling point, Chantel's role in the scandal became even more complicated. While Jackie was trying to distance herself from the illegal activities, Chantel's involvement seemed to only deepen. Investigators discovered that Chantel wasn't just a passive participant. She had been a key player in orchestrating many of the operations, and her connections to criminal organizations and corrupt political figures were more extensive than anyone had initially realized. The revelations about Chantel's actions were stunning. Not only had she been laundering money through her various business ventures, but she had also been influencing political campaigns and using her wealth to manipulate public opinion. Some believed she had been using her mother's celebrity status to shield herself from scrutiny, while others saw her as the true mastermind behind the operation. Was Chantel just as guilty as Jackie, or was she too a victim of her mother's influence? As the investigation continued to unfold, it became clear that both Jackie and Chantel were facing serious legal consequences. Legal experts speculated that if the authorities moved forward with charges, they could be looking at years in prison, massive fines, and the irreversible destruction of their careers and reputations. The Christie family's empire was unraveling, and with each passing day, the likelihood of a full-blown legal battle seemed more and more certain. The public's demand for justice was growing louder. People who had once admired the Christie family for their fame and celebrity now saw them as symbols of everything wrong with the world of wealth, power, and corruption. As the investigation gained momentum, the Christies found themselves trapped in a nightmare of their own making, one that was far beyond their ability to control. The clock was ticking, and with every new leak, every shocking piece of evidence, the stakes grew higher. What would become of Jackie and Chantel? Could they escape the legal consequences of their actions, or would they be forced to face the full extent of their crimes? Only time would tell, but it was clear that the Christie family was on the verge of a reckoning that would change their lives, and the public's perception of them, forever, is sure to bring even more jaw-dropping revelations as the Christie family's scandal continues to unravel. With each passing day, new information surfaces, and the stakes get higher. Will Jackie and Chantel finally face the consequences of their actions? Or will they somehow manage to escape the full weight of justice? One thing's for certain, the fallout from this scandal is far from over. As the investigation digs deeper, there's still so much left to uncover. What will happen when all the secrets and lies are laid bare? Will Jackie and Chantel's empire of deception finally come crashing down, or will they somehow wiggle their way out of the mess they've created? We want to hear your thoughts. Are you team justice must be served, or do you think Jackie and Chantel are being unfairly targeted? Could there be more players involved that we don't even know about? Yet, the drama is escalating, and we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for the next bombshell. Remember to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. The Christie family scandal is far from over, and we'll be here to bring you every explosive update. Get ready. This story is about to get even wilder. See you soon.